Day 2 of VMware Explore Barcelona, and man, the announcements today there were quite a few announcements today, John.
You know, I love hearing about steady state operations, but I also like to think about, what happens when things go wrong? Fire, flood, blood.
Fire, flood, blood, that's absolutely right. Yeah, no, we're talking disaster recovery, and we've got the experts with us. We've got from our very own business group, Mark Chaung, Senior Director of Product Marketing. Mark, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Pete. Glad to be here.
And Senior Director of Product Management, Amit Sinha. Amit, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So lots of announcements today on the general session. Obviously, disaster recovery was a big topic. What were the key ones?
Well, disaster recovery definitely top of mind for us, but really where our focus was the disaster that all organizations are dealing with, which is modern ransomware.
Yeah.
So that's really where we wanted to announce some innovations to help customers solve this very thorny problem.
Yeah, it used to be disaster recovery was, tornadoes, as John likes to say, fire, flood, blood. But boy, we need to add a new acronym that has ransomware in there for sure.
Yeah, no, it's something to where it's not just, thinking about the traditional kinetic events that can happen, but also these actors who are actively trying to make money off of you forgetting to patch. It used to I feel like a lot of old cyber attacks, it felt like some bored teenagers would get in, in the early 2000s. Maybe they might delete something, but now they're this active hostage situation. It does not sound like a fun situation at all.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In fact, ransomware itself has changed so much and has become so sophisticated that it's very difficult for people to keep up with it.
Yeah, it's an entire business. It's a revenue stream for many people.
I was just talking to one of our VMware friends yesterday, and his mortgage is with Mr. Cooper. It's a U.S. company.
Yes.
He can't pay his mortgage right now because they got taken out.
Wow. Is that what he told you, or he just doesn't want to pay his mortgage?
I don't know. I'm going to have to find out. But
yeah, so what were the big announcements today?
Well, I'll start with one, and maybe you could go with the other one. We're just looking for ways to be even more proactive or help customers to be even more proactive. So that's why we announced a tech preview of intelligent threat detection. And it's a set of capabilities that help customers to be able to see more earlier. Specifically, we have one set that the team's actively working on that's all about how can I take my snapshot, boot them up in an isolated environment, and proactively scan them on a very aggressive mode so that it complements what you're already doing in the production EDR. So if you could find it before it actually starts encrypting, then obviously you've just saved yourself a ton of headache.
Well, what I like about this, just from an architectural basis, is this is all happening on secondary storage that's not my production storage. When antivirus scan storms are a thing where, we joke about this sometimes with our laptops of like, oh yeah, I've got the new 12-core Mac, so that way 6 cores can be devoted to EDR and background scans and everything. But it's if we can have all of the compute and the storage hit of that be offloaded, to the cloud or into ideally just someone else's hardware, that's got some real value because from having not just a backup line of defense, but also
that's exactly right. And in the backup side, you can actually run much more aggressive policies when it comes to detection and scanning that you cannot do on production.
Yeah. And it's a huge time savings as well, because right now our current offering does that same scanning once you are detected that you have been hit and you're in the recovery phase. But if we do all of this scanning earlier and proactively, then when you get to the recovery phase, you've already assessed a good majority of your snapshots previously, which gives you a huge head start in identifying the right restore point to recover from.
Yeah, your recovery becomes much faster, especially if you're talking about hundreds of VMs, thousands of VMs.
No, figuring out where in that chain out of the hundreds or thousands of snap points that you've kept, which ones you want the most recent because you don't want to lose data as much as possible, but also be able to find that. And that's fun because, like we mentioned earlier, like the resourcing, that's kind of fun also that you're able to hit the older points, because I understand these threats are kind of polymorphic, they're constantly evolving, and your existing tooling has 40 milliseconds to make a decision on allow, do not allow.
Yeah.
But if you can kind of leisurely go through with newer definitions and look at the older points, definitions that have come out since the snap was taken, you can go after them.
And there is a lot of machine learning and AI intelligence that's actually being run in the cloud, which we use to be able to detect. So we bring up the VM, we use the EDR agent, we run it for some time, and we are using all this intelligence behind the scene, which is able to actually figure out some of the latest attacks that can happen.
Okay. So Mark, intelligent threat detection, you said it was happening when you're creating snapshots. Is that the only time that this is actually running?
We have a complementary set of capabilities as well, where no type of proactive measures, preventative measures can ever be 100% effective. Sure. So you've still just got to have different layers of defense. The other part of intelligent threat detection is if an encryption event does start, how can we help a customer to find that and understand it's happening as early as possible? Because if you can do that, then you're able to contain it before it spreads to a larger part of your estate.
And many of these attacks actually happen on a long weekend because it's a 3-day weekend, people are not watching their production systems, and your backups are still happening, with the VCDR ransomware recovery service is still working. And if we can detect it, we can inform the admins, the users, that we see something fishy, and they can go and stop that thing from spreading to other systems.
It's just crazy to think that these people are so dubious that they're actually timing their attacks when everyone else is at the beach or doing things or not available to actually fix it. That's really interesting to think about it like that.
Yeah, please, if you're out there, please don't ruin my weekend. But yeah, I like the fact of looking for those activities and being able to scan that out of bound, look for the file or the block activities, look for that. That's fun.
Okay, so intelligent threat detection, that sounds good. What was the second announcement?
So the second one that we are announcing is called VMware Live Recovery. So we are bringing our multiple offerings that we have from a disaster recovery perspective as well as ransomware recovery perspective into one commercial offering, one simple, easy to use, flexible offering for our customers. So we have a disaster recovery solution for site-to-site, self-managed customer solution, which is SRM. We also have the VCDR ransomware recovery that we were just talking about. So this would be a common unified protection for our customers, which would be easy for customer to sort of consume and use.
Okay. So yeah, I'm an old SRM guy from many years back. So you actually have a common interface for both SRM and VMware Cloud Disaster Recovery.
Right. So this would also provide a common interface, and it'll be a common SKU, common commercial offering, a common license.
Oh, it's a common SKU. Well, that makes sense.
I like anything that means fewer SKUs. It makes it easier, and these different implementations, they have unique capabilities or different RPOs or RTOs or retention cost models and things like that. But offering that as one solution lets the customer, okay, I need disaster recovery, and then I guess go figure out, after the fact, they can move workloads between the two or things like that based on what the needs are from a recovery basis.
Absolutely, yeah. Because customers are trying to figure out how to optimize their cost, and when it comes to having a disaster recovery environment on-prem, that has additional costs. So they need to balance that, leverage some of their disaster recovery needs using a DR to cloud, which is more on-demand, more elastic, more flexible. So this provides them a way to sort of adjust their usage based on their needs as they go along without really worrying about, exactly planning on each of these solutions.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Raghu said it in the general session today. John and I had a session earlier today. We were asking our audience, polling our audience, who is completely on cloud, who is completely on premises. Nobody raises their hand. Everybody is multi-cloud, and some folks have things on premises, some folks have things in the cloud. So yeah, I like the idea from a management perspective as well to be able to manage everything within one interface, and certainly from a cost perspective. So
yeah, I mean, business conditions are just always constantly changing. Sometimes you do it to yourself, right? But other times it's the threats are changing external to you as well. Yeah. So we just feel like giving this flexibility to be able to adjust and adapt over time, as opposed to feeling like you've got to make those decisions right up front. It simplifies, and that flexibility for those changing conditions, we think will be really helpful for the customers.
I like it. I like it. Short and sweet. 2 really big announcements today from VMware, from the VMware Cloud Disaster Recovery, but from our whole disaster recovery portfolio. More information. Where can we find more information?
We definitely have our blogs as well as just new information up on our website. So people can head there.
Links below. Thanks for joining us, Mark and Amit, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks, you guys.
All right.